This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Daily Liverpool Podcast, brought to you by the Global Sports Podcast Network. I'm Adarsh Ramchurn and we're reviewing Liverpool beating PSG 1-0 at the Parc de France in the Champions League, thanks to a goal from Harvey Elliott coming off the bench 47 seconds after coming off the bench. He grabs the winner for Liverpool. But that only tells you part of the story because, let's be honest, we were under the cosh throughout the whole game. And if it wasn't for that big, beautiful Brazilian in the goal, Allison Becker, we would not be walking away with, I was going to say all 3 points, but obviously knockout football with a 1-0 victory against PSG. In today's episode, I'm going to go over the key points, the first half, the second half, obviously the man of the match moment from Alisson, but Harvey Elliott's winner as well, and then some player ratings to round off today's post-match reaction. But going into the game, Liverpool lined up with pretty much similar tactics and a similar formation to some of the games we've been seeing recently, where we're playing sort of more defensive, more resolute, particularly games like Man City come to mind, were a bit more pragmatic. But we lined up with that 4-3-3 formation. I guess we all thought Robertson was going to come back in for Tsimikas, and there was a question whether Gakpo was going to come in, but given that he has a knock, it was Luis Diaz on the left and Diogo Jota up front. But pretty much as the regulars in the Liverpool team. PSG lined up with Kvaratskhelia on the wing, who I thought before the match was going to be a threat, with Dembele, who's been right in form, and Barcola. Definitely a very tasty front three and definitely caused us a lot of problems during the game. With Vitinha, and they had João Neves in midfield with Fabian Ruiz, who I thought dictated the game really, really well and controlled that midfield battle. And then in defence with Hakimi and Mendes as the fullbacks, with Marquinhos and I think it's Pacho, the young centre-back, with alongside Donnarumma in net. So a strong PSG team that lined up against us. And as the game started, I thought that first 20 minutes, PSG were all over us. And I was fearing the worst, if I'm going to be completely honest, because usually Liverpool, we like to control games. And I know this was always going to be a tough away game. We weren't going to have as much of the ball as we like. And PSG, under Luis Enrique, like to play that more possession-based tiki-taka football, kind of what we saw Luis Enrique play in that great Barcelona team with Messi, Suarez and Neymar. Obviously doesn't have that at his disposal, but he's still got a young and exciting team, and I thought PSG definitely attacked us really, really strongly in that first half, creating chances galore. To be fair, they could have been 1 or 2 goals up, and they were actually 1-0 up with a brilliant finish from Kvaratskhelia. The only time Alisson got beaten, but he was offside. I actually called it. I was talking to my dad watching the game. I was like, he could be offside there, but I wasn't sure. But given the benefit of the doubt, Liverpool, goal ruled out, but it didn't stop PSG threatening. I thought Dembele as well caused Robertson a few, particularly in that first half, a few problems running at him. I think he nutmegged him, I think once or twice as well. And it was a bag of tricks on that right-hand side for PSG, but didn't really take their chances. And then I know Barcola had that chance as well when he was through on goal, Alisson coming out of the goal and Szoboszlai blocking it before he blazed it over. Kvaratskhelia had the free kick as well. So they had their chances, but Alisson stood firm in the net in that first half in particular. And then I guess the other major talking point, which I don't think is a talking point, but for some reason, maybe I'm wrong here, guys, but how there was a question around Kanate potentially getting a red card. I don't see it as a red card at all. I don't think it's a foul. He just gets nudged in the back. And commentators like Ali McCoist and Rio Ferdinand on TNT saying that it was a clear red card. I don't know where they're getting that from. It's a push. Kanate is a little bit lucky in the sense that he does push him, and another day it could be a foul, but never a red card. It's not denying a goal scoring opportunity. Alisson's already off his line. So yeah, I think that I don't understand why there was much controversy around that. I don't think it's a red card. I don't even think it's a foul, and the referee got it spot on in that moment. You call me biased, but that's what I firmly believe. But from a Liverpool point of view, we created next to nothing in that first half. I mean, in the overall match, But first half, PSG absolutely dominated, and we were restricted to very few chances. We couldn't really keep the ball at points, and I was getting a bit frustrated with players like Jota and Diaz, who had the opportunity to keep the ball but gave it away. But to be fair, it was pretty much the whole team, and a lot down to PSG's press and energy throughout the match. And I think when we play at Anfield in the second leg, Liverpool won't set up like that, and I think we'll be a lot more energetic, a lot more on the front foot. But going away to PSG is a tough place to go to, and to be fair, we defended without absolute lies. I couldn't fault anyone defensively in terms of getting back in position, tracking runners, getting into that defensive solid shape. And I think we are seeing on the slot the team really respect having less of the ball and actually feeling comfortable letting the team come onto them. And usually on another day on the counter attack, we will pick teams apart, but we weren't really that clinical on the counter attack. But yeah, we go into halftime 0-0. You could say we're quite fortunate to go into 0-0, and I think Slot did a really good job in that second half, identifying when to make changes. And we come out, PSG are still attacking. I think Dembele had a couple of sort of half chances. Kvaratskhelia as well had a free kick that Alisson tipped around beautifully, and then a couple of other crosses that Alisson just kept pushing to the side. And I think he's just unbelievable. He's out of this world, and I think to have a goalkeeper like him, I know there's talk of Mamardashvili coming in. There's talk of, Alisson might be he's nowhere near the end of his prime. He's got at least another 2-3 years minimum at Liverpool. He is just unbelievable. Those saves that he makes it look so easy as well. He doesn't have to do the spectacular saves like a Jordan Pickford would and fly all across the goal line. He doesn't have to do that. He just makes it look simple and easy. And yeah, some of those catches and saves were just like I said, it makes us look so easy. And PSG, I think towards the end of the game, just ran out of ideas. They were taking shots from outside the box. I think it was Desiree Doué who came on the left hand side and cut in and hit an absolute brilliant shot. And Alisson, that was my pick of the saves. So I had to pick one of the 9 saves. It was that one. He just tipped around beautifully, fully stretched, two hands, and pushed it around for a corner. But yeah, we're not talking anywhere near getting a 1-0 lead if it wasn't for Alisson. And I think his contribution to this game, one of the best performances I've seen Alisson play in a Liverpool shirt for, pretty much his whole career. He literally was unstoppable. You could not get past him in today's Champions League game. But yeah, defended resolutely, didn't create that much from giving the ball away, but it comes to that 86th minute actually, when Salah gets withdrawn. I'm actually wearing the Egyptian Salah top today because my girlfriend got it for me, but I thought that would give us a good omen for Salah to perform today. Didn't really perform to his best. I think Nuno Mendes did a really good job against him. The intensity of PSG as a whole kind of nullified any Liverpool attack. But we go to the 86th minute, Salah coming off and Harvey Elliott coming on, and you think it's just get some more energy in that midfield. Just see out the game really, and he comes onto that right hand side where Salah usually is, and a few seconds later Jones recycles the ball back to Alisson, long ball up to Nunes, who again, we'll come on to the substitutes when I do the player ratings, but Nunes makes a difference. He frustrates every Liverpool fan, but he has his moments, and I think that was one of his best moments in a Liverpool shirt, because I initially said he should shoot, but he held onto the ball at the right time, played the right pass to Harvey Elliott, and he just had to finish it. And we're talking about best goalkeepers in the world in Alisson. Alisson saves that. Donnarumma, do you know what, I'm not someone who really thinks about the other team when I'm watching Liverpool play, but from a PSG point of view, you've done so well to play, and yes, you haven't scored, but the 3 or 4 times Donnarumma was anywhere near the ball, he just looked all over the place. I mean, the couple of times he went to pick balls from crosses and he dropped it once, and then the other time going for the ball with Nunes, he dropped it again, and then was on the floor and then jumped up again. And I just think he's not a goalkeeper that I would want to have at Liverpool anyway. And thank God we don't have to have that conversation. But he was erratic, and that's the difference between a normal goalkeeper and a world-class goalkeeper. In the moments, they stand up. Alisson had plenty of those moments today. Donnarumma just had to make that one save, and he couldn't make it because Harvey Elliott absolutely smashes it into the bottom corner and gets us that 1-0 advantage going into the second leg at Anfield. And I'm so pleased for Harvey Elliott, because I think a lot of Liverpool fans would say he hasn't got enough game time this season. He's been unlucky with injuries as well in the earlier parts of the season. There was talk of him going on loan in January even, which is kind of crazy to even think about that. But he's had to be patient for his minutes this season. And today he took his opportunity. He took the moment, he took the game by the scruff of his neck and got Liverpool that 1-0 advantage going into the second leg. And it makes us clear favourites for going through into the next round, into the quarterfinals, because I think that goal mentally damages PSG because they're not even just huffed and puffed, they've absolutely given everything to that game. Created so many chances, could have scored 2-3 goals today, but were just met by an unbelievable goalkeeper, unbelievable goalkeeping performance, and Liverpool just smashing and grabbing. And I'm usually critical of teams that do that, but I think now seeing Liverpool and Slot being able to do that and adapt his style of play, it just shows that we've got a top class manager, a top class team, and we've got players that can finish games in moments and deliver those moments. We only had two shots on goal, one on target, and that was enough to get us that 1-0 advantage going into the second leg. I'm going to discuss player ratings after this very short break.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Amazing. So going into player ratings after Liverpool have won 1-0 at the Parc des Princes in the Champions League. It's funny we're starting with the goalkeeper, Alisson. 100 out of 10. I mean, how can you give him anything less than that? It is one of the best goalkeeping performances I've seen. Catched everything, saved everything, dominated his box, cleared the ball. Distribution was unbelievable. Even for the goal, he launched it right into the path of Nunes. He's just the best goalkeeper in the world. And all this talk of other goalkeepers, I mean, I don't even want to mention any other goalkeeper because they don't deserve to be in the conversation with Alisson. He has kept us. I wouldn't say even kept us in the game. He's won us the game. A goalkeeper's won us the game through his performance. And yeah, we are so lucky to have him at Liverpool, like I mentioned earlier. 100 out of 10. Man of the match performance, and yeah, one of the best goalkeeping performances, not even just I've seen from a Liverpool point of view, from any goalkeeper, I think. And I'm not even exaggerating. I think that is one of the best goalkeeping performances I've ever seen from Alisson. 100 out of 10, clear man of the match. We don't win the game without him. Having said that, we're going on to the defence, and I think Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson, fullbacks, they had a tough game. They had a very tough game, and to be fair to them, they did handle Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, Doué, Barcola, all of those attacking players when they were occupying the wings really, really well. And I thought Trent in particular has got his critics. There was times during the game where I think Kvaratskhelia beat him, Dembele beat him, Doué even had a one-on-one against him as well. But he did overall handle and stuck to his tasks. I think one of the criticisms when it comes to Trent is there's this lazy argument that he can't defend. I don't think it's that. I think it's at points he just can be too easy to get past and he doesn't stick to his task. Today, that was like, even though he got beat a few times, he still stuck to it and he put in a proper shift. And if anything, I thought as a right back going into this game, you're looking at him versus Hakimi. Hakimi didn't really offer that much, and defensively, because a couple of times he got in behind Hakimi. But yeah, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold showing that he can do the dirty work in defence, and I thought he was brilliant. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Robertson, I thought was outstanding, and I know he's had his critics this season. And even in the first half, he kind of had a bit of I want to say nightmare first half where he was getting nutmegged and stuff, but he just stuck to his task and put in a proper defensive performance that I love to see from our Flying Scotsman. I think he's in the last few games in particular, from a defensive point of view, has really been back at the level that we've been so used to seeing Andy Robertson play for Liverpool. So I'm going to give him a 9. I thought he was outstanding, and I think it's good omens that he's getting some rest in between games as well. I know he didn't play against Newcastle. I expect him to be rotated against Southampton so that he can play these big games and have that energy, because when a fully fit, fully firing Andy Robertson makes a huge difference in that on that left-hand side in our defence. The centre-backs, Kanate, Van Dijk, I mean, again, positionally, Van Dijk, I'm going to give him a 9 as well. I thought he was outstanding. Positionally, simple football, switching the play, commanding the defence. And I think as well, we dealt so well with whenever PSG had a 4-on-3, for example, and they outnumbered us in the attack, I thought he just was in the right positions at the right time. So I'm going to give Van Dijk an 8. Kanate, not really. The thing is, he was part of an incredible sort of defensive performance, but wasn't the standout defender for me today. So I'm going to give him a 7, and he could have potentially got a red card, even though I don't think it's a red card. But I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Still a strong performance, and I expect bigger and better things from Kanate this season for future games. But yeah, he was outstanding. Going on to midfield, I think this was probably our weakest midfield performance in a long time. Not in the sense of the fact that we didn't dominate the ball, but just I don't think we did well to look after the ball in moments when we could have looked after the ball. And I know, like I said earlier, PSG defended really, really well. And not just defended, sorry, but like were pressing relentlessly to win the ball back. I just thought players like Gravenberch, McAllister could have done a bit better to keep the ball. Gravenberch, probably one of the poorest performances I've seen him. He does look a bit shattered. And when Endo came on, he put in a proper defensive CDM performance in that last 15-20 minutes. I'm going to give Gravenberch a 6, maybe a 7. I'll probably give him a 6.5. But I think he's just set his standards so high this season that he is allowed to have a slightly off day and allowed to not be at his best. He still didn't do anything majorly wrong or majorly right. So I think a 6.5 is fair. And I'll probably give the same to McAllister. I think out of all the midfielders, he's probably the most combative, along with Szoboszlai, who I'll get onto in a second. But yeah, nothing outstanding from McAllister. Didn't need to be, but he was part of, again, a really solid defensive performance. So I'm going to give McAllister a 6.5, along with Gravenberch. I think they were both kind of not at the supreme level that they usually are in this Liverpool team. Szoboszlai, I'm going to give a 7. I think he was probably our best midfielder on the day, and he just relentlessly running. He puts in an absolute shift, and that's one thing you can never fault Szoboszlai. The running power, the energy, the enthusiasm he has to win the ball back. Even when he's on the ball and he's trying to counter-attack and bring us forward, he just runs with such elegance. And yeah, he's got so much firepower in those legs, and he's so much energy. And like I said earlier on in the season, we want to see more goals and assists from him. I'm seeing that, but his overall midfield play, he's becoming a sort of all-round midfielder that we're really getting used to seeing in the Liverpool shirt. So I'm going to give Szoboszlai an 8, and I think his role in the defensive part of the team for Liverpool gives him that 8 number 8. Gives him, well, he wears the number 8, but gives him an 8 player match rating as well. And then going on to the attack, probably the poorest attack. We didn't have many chances, and I'm going to give all of them a 6, really. Diaz, Jota, and Salah. Nothing real threatening. We were quite poor when it came to the final third, not creating many chances. A lot of that is down to PSG actually really switching on when we got into any attacking positions anyway, but nothing of note. I thought Jota could have done a lot better holding up onto the ball. Diaz did really well to track back, which he always does. So I'm going to give a 6 to the attacking players. And then going on to the substitutes, I mean, this is where we won the match. And obviously, apart from Alisson, the substitutes have really, really got us out. I was going to say get us out of jail. If anything, they won us the game. Harvey Elliott, I mean, to win that, just for that touch alone, he gets at least a 9 minimum, probably a 10. But you know what? I'll give him a 10 because I give Alisson 100. So Harvey Elliott, 10 out of 10. You can't, for winning a match, you can't get anything less than a 9. So Harvey Elliott, that brilliant finish. And like I said earlier, he's had his tough moments this season, but he's been able to pick himself up for this game, come onto the pitch and get Liverpool that 1-0 advantage. So 10 out of 10 for him. And I'll probably have to be fair, have to give 10 out of 10 to Núñez. Like, we've been so critical of him this season, and he can frustrate the living day out of everyone as a Liverpool fan. That is one thing that he's, as a substitute, when he comes on, he's got less pressure, and he dealt with... Do you know what? I actually thought, when we were going long to Núñez, like just as a big target man, I thought he was brilliant. He held off the ball, physical, he's got that energy. And we saw for the goal, I mean, held off Marquinhos, pushed him to the floor like he's a child. And yeah, I was screaming for him to shoot, but I'm so glad he didn't listen to me. And he played the ball to Harvey Elliott. Perfect way of pass. And big moment for Liverpool in this Champions League tie to win us the game. So Núñez, you know what? I've been critical of you this season, but another moment that you play in moments, Núñez, and some moments you don't have good moments. This one was one of those good moments. So I have to give him credit for that. So I'm going to give him a 9. Not necessarily a 10, but give him a 9. And then Enzo and Curtis Jones coming on as midfield. I mean, Jones, I thought, he does worry me sometimes when he holds onto the ball a lot, especially when PSG are pressing the life out of us. But I thought he dealt with being on the ball a lot better than any of our midfielders really did today. And I think he took ownership of staying on the ball, getting us playing. And I know we didn't really keep the ball that much. I think we had, anywhere between 30 to 35% possession overall in the match. And even though we hardly kept the ball, I thought Jones was one of those players that really calmed things down and, did have an impact and got us more controlled in that midfield. But another player that did that was Wataru Endo. And I said after the match that I love Alisson, but I love Wataru Endo. That tackle he did on João Neves, I think around probably 84th, 85th minute, something along those lines. He just clattered into him. Unbelievable. I mean, he's a perfect player, perfect substitute to have for Liverpool. Any game this season when winning, bring on Wataru Endo. Any game we need to see out a draw, bring on Endo. Even if we need a goal, I mean, we're pushing everyone forward and we need to have someone covering at the back, you bring on Wataru Endo. And I absolutely love that man. I think he needs to stay at Liverpool. I think there's talk of him leaving. He can't leave. He's such an important player for the squad. And if we're going to go deep in any competition, you need players like him in the squad. So I'm going to give Endo an 8.5 out of 10, but could easily be higher. Like a lot of the substitutes. This is one of those games that the substitutes made a difference. And just a word on Arne Slot. I thought going into the game, I mean, I'm watching the game like 60, 70 minutes in, and I'm thinking this tactic is crazy. Because if PSG score one, I don't know, even 1-0 is not a bad result going away to Anfield and have to overcome a 1-0 lead, but it's still risky. And I think he managed it so well and made the changes at the right points in the game. Masterclass from Slot. And we're seeing under Slot, Liverpool play loads of different styles of play. We can play the press, we can play high energy, we can play controlled possession, we can play counter-attack, but we can also play deep, sit back, defend. A bit Mourinho-esque in that sense, even though it pains me to say that, but we can play any style. And I think that makes us a really strong fit for not just the rest of the season, but in the Champions League, we can be a proper threat. And we already know what our course to the potential Champions League final in Munich will be. We probably will face Aston Villa in the quarterfinals if we get through in the second leg. There's still a lot of work to do. I don't want to get carried away with myself. I know we've won the first leg, but going back to Anfield with a 1-0 lead is still a job to do for Liverpool. But yeah, we've got to see ourselves as big favourites for that. And then if we get through, it's most likely going to be Villa. If we get through that, probably Arsenal versus Real Madrid. It's still going to be tough. But we can definitely do this. And I think this performance gives me a lot of confidence that Liverpool can go all the way in the Champions League and bring home number 7. But like I said, a lot of work to do in the second leg. That's been everything from me in today's post-match reaction. If you're new to the Daily Liverpool podcast, give us a follow us on social media, and stay tuned for the next episode. We'll be covering some more reaction to the PSG game that's happened this evening, but also looking forward to the Premier League where Liverpool return to action against Southampton at Anfield. Thank you all for listening and have a great evening.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.